Good evening. This is Ted Hicks, Late Night Parent Radio, here once again. Oh, how I wanted to say Happy Cinco de Mayo or May the 4th be with you, but it's May 6th, 2015. As I mentioned, the LMP show. You can catch us on Twitter, Late Night Parent, or The Real Ted Hicks. Catch us on Facebook, or catch us at the mothership, latenightparents.com. Happy to be here once again. This episode is called REVERB. Tonight is it's a hybrid show. I'm live, but we're doing we're playing some of my favorites. We have Holly Carney from Wicked Not joining us. We have Andrew Maltin from Hang With. Everyone's talking about Periscope and everything else like that. We also have Professor Kirk Burkhalter, who has a unique perspective as being a law professor and a retired NYPD detective. He's going to be joining us. But as I mentioned, it's REVERB. We're excited. Happy to be here once again. And we want to thank our radio partners, as we do every week. Catch us however you catch us through all of our friends, whether it's through UNIR1, NGSC Sports, Life Improvement Radio, XRP Radio out in the UK, our folks in New Zealand. And as we always say, New York to LA, New Zealand to the UK, we're everywhere. Happy to be here. I guess that's it. We're going to get into the story. We're going to get into, the folks that we had scheduled for tonight. Like I said, I want to give a quick shout-out and reference to our new friends, our new sponsor. Today's sponsor of the REVERB show is Audible.com, who has more than 180,000 audiobooks and spoken word audio products. So get a free audiobook of your choice at audibletrial.com/late night parents. Really pleased to mention that. Tonight, what we won't be talking about the wonderful thing Ernie Johnson did with his Daytime Emmy Award, with giving it to Stuart Scott's daughters. We won't be talking about that. We won't be talking about Mayweather-Pacquiao and the madness that has ensued after that fact. We won't be talking about Deflategate. We're not talking about all that stuff tonight because guess what? It's not a sports show, folks. If you thought you were tuning into a sports show, we talk sports from time to time, but hey, we get into the topics that matter. We got a great show scheduled for next week too. We'll get into that. But without further ado, as I mentioned, Andrew Maltin. As I mentioned, Holly Carney. As I mentioned, Kirk Burkhalter. All three great folks who, provide something different, give us a good conversation, get us charged about what's happening in the world today. And we have so many different news and notes to get to, but like I said, tonight we'll do it a little different. We hope you like it. Like I said, it's if it was a television show, you would say it's a filler episode. And I don't know if I'll get in trouble from, the big bosses here at Happy Hour. But, yeah, it's a filler episode. So we're going to go into first with our good friend Andrew Maltin, going live now. CEO of Hang With, the live video streaming app, better than Periscope and Meerkat. as I like to call him, Mr. Val, the CEO of the Happy Hour Network and the new co-host of Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue. I don't even know what that show's about, but we're going to discuss the end-of-season MLB awards. So it's going to be a good show tonight, and very shortly we're going to have our first guest on, Andrew Maltin, and I believe I see he's here right on time. So we're going to bring our first CEO on tonight. Hey, Andrew, how you doing?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
Pretty good. Andrew, thank you for taking your time out of your day to join us here with Late Night Parents. Once again, thank you, and it's an honor and a privilege to have you on to talk about that product that I got to see a few months ago, Hang With. It's very, very exciting.
Well, thank you so much. Once again, thanks for having me on. Excited to talk about it.
Hey, no problem. So just a little bit of backstory, Andrew. We had you on, or I was working with Barbershop Sports a few months ago. We had you on to talk about the product, and it was a great job. I mean, both teams to talk about it, and I wanted to get you back here to talk about it, some of our parents, and just to say, let's see how we've come along. But to anyone that's not familiar with your product, give us a little backstory on Hang With and how it came about.
Absolutely. So Hang With basically came about as trying to find a solution to help celebrities connect with fans. Social media has become somewhat inauthentic in many ways, where it's just a click of a button to like, and it's not really connecting people. And we came up with a way that people could interact live with their fans. But by the time we opened, we realized that it wasn't just about celebrities, and it was really about anybody who wanted to share any type of a special moment, whether that be a Little League game or a soccer game. You can broadcast that moment live and share it with friends and family, and then being able to interact back with whoever is doing the broadcasting. So that's kind of how it all came about, was really finding a way for people to authentically connect with one another using some type of a social media and mobile device.
I got to jump in, Andrew, and say, yes, it's a wonderful product, and I do agree with you, because let's just look at it in the aspect of if you're following a celebrity, or this person is your favorite athlete. With the current products that are out there, it is something as simple as, hey, I'm clicking that, I'm liking what you're doing, or I'm selecting the favorite option, and then that's it. That's where it kind of starts and ends. And, I don't know. I mean, nowadays the fans kind of want that Thuzio type interaction, but a lot of people can't pay that specific price where, hey, I want to go have lunch with Dave Winfield, in person, right, because, growing up, he was my favorite baseball player, but, I don't have the $15,000 to make it happen.
The lunch to charity, right, yeah, absolutely. So true.
So it's great knowing that your product grants you the ability to connect not only with the celebrities, like you said, that special moment, but I gotta ask you, because the products and how the internet is going nowadays, with everyone that basically almost having a 4G or 3G connection, how did you deal with, the back end, like the configuration side of it? Because earlier iterations of the product, how did you deal with such clear video? The high definition video.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging, and we've spent a year and a half or 2 years now of building the infrastructure. It has a very large infrastructure. This is not just a simple app. It appears that way to the people who use it, but what we've built on the back end of this is a very large piece of technology. But we really do pride ourselves on the quality. And one of the challenges that we do have in our business is bandwidth. And as we know, that's getting better and better, and people have better connectivity where they are now. There's still some areas where connectivity is a little more challenging, like stadiums or auditoriums. But for the most part, people have a pretty good connection today. At least what we can do is take that connection and we adjust the quality based upon the connectivity of the broadcaster. So we're constantly optimizing the experience for the user. And it definitely makes it a much higher quality experience. Unless somebody is absolutely in the middle of the desert with no connectivity, then it makes it really difficult for people to work with us. But for the most part, people have connectivity now, whether they be in their, on the soccer field or in the, in the grocery store or at home. They typically have better connectivity now.
Got you. So I guess a question I'm going to have for you is, from the user perspective, it is just an app. And I know on the back end what it means for you, because I've been in IT for the past 17 years, so I'm totally with you on this. But for the platforms, is it cross-platform or is it just iOS and Android? Let us know. Let our listeners know what platforms do you support it through.
It's an iOS and Android. It's an iOS and Android app, and then we also just went into beta on our web version. And the web at this point just allows you to view, so it's more of a browsing experience than a broadcasting experience. But for the most part, we're about 50-50, both iOS users and Android users. iOS being Apple, and so that's pretty much the makeup of it. I mean, these are people who are using their phones as their broadcasting device and being able to basically, some cases people are starting their own shows at home, whether they're reviewing products or just these call-in, kind of radio type shows of the old days, that people are now starting to use Hangwith as the tool to do that. And it's really fascinating what we're seeing people do with the product. Once you give people the stage that they can stand on and communicate with the public, they figure out really cool things to do with it, and we're excited to see what continues to come out of that.
So, Andrew, right now, are people attaching to your network for like video podcast?
Not really, because remember, podcasts are more they're more archived information, and people can come look at them as they choose. So in our case, it's really everything is about live. We're about the authenticity of live. So when let's assume you're Ali Landry or Cascade or 50 Cent or one of these celebrities, and they're backstage at the Grammys, and you get a push notification that says, 50 Cent wants to hang out with you backstage at the Grammys. And you go to click on that and you watch, and you're really there backstage with this person as he's walking around saying, oh, here's so-and-so, and here's, another celebrity, and just in a VIP experience that you just normally would not have access to. And that's being done live. So that data, that video is then stored, so it is viewable later, but the real exciting part is being able to watch and interact live.
Got you. And you just mentioned, yes, that the cast of stars that you have that are backing the product. Tell us about the involvement with Timbaland.
So Timbaland, who's, if people don't know, is a Grammy Award-winning producer. People like Justin Timberlake and other big names that he's produced for. And he uses it in such a cool way. I mean, he uses it when he's in the studio with the artist, and it's an incredible backstage, behind-the-scenes look at making music. And it really is an incredible experience to watch. Timbaland is one of those that's just a really great broadcaster, understands how to use the platform, understands and really wants to connect with fans. And the fans come on, and he says, hey, what do you guys think of this beat? And, there are people out there, and they're writing back to him saying, wow, that's incredible. I love the way you did that, and what a great use of this instrument, or whatever that happens to be. And so it's really interesting to watch and follow him. So if you do get on, he's one of those I would always suggest you follow.
Yes, Yes, indeed. So we've talked about the celebrities. We've talked about some of the infrastructure. For the, I guess, the traditional person that has a desktop or a laptop that's, a non-mobile device that has, let's say, a Windows or a Mac, it's totally viewable. You can view it through the web browser. I mean, with no issues, or is there any gotchas?
So there's with the web version of it, which we just recently announced and released in its beta form, you're able to go on to the website. You're able to view and chat with the broadcasters. The only thing you're not able to do using a web browser is the ability to actually broadcast. And so we've held back on the broadcasting ability, one, because we really like the type of content you get when you're on your mobile. These are people that are out there doing things. They're at events. They're sharing those experiences with people, rather than just people sitting in front of a computer talking to the screen. Which not to say that's not a great experience, but it's just not the experience. Our focus has been mobile only, and really letting people just come up with some really interesting content.
Pretty great. So let's say, Andrew, for myself, so I'm a dad. Daughter plays basketball in 7th grade, and the son is, between swimming and soccer and keeping them active. So if I wanted to use your app to record or to do a live webcast, what would I have to do?
So you would just need to download the app, register for an account using Facebook or some other type of login, or just create an account using your email address, and you would just press a button. I'll give you an example. My wife, back to you're talking about soccer and things. I mean, my wife, I get a push notification maybe every other day from her that says, one of my sons is at practice or he's at a game, and this is, I'm at the office, and so I can't be at all the practices, and I can't be everywhere with them all the time, and I get to literally watch this. She's broadcasting from the phone. She just presses the button, and I'm now watching her live. And I can say, wow, that's incredible. I saw that he's playing here. And, she sends it to a group of, just our close friends and family, and is able to share that experience with this small group of people and be able to see it live. So it makes for I think it's a great product for parents from that perspective. And to me, I feel like I was there. Like I get home at night and I say, wow, I saw you at practice today. There was an incredible shot you made from, half court, right, or whatever that is. And it's really neat that I was able to experience that moment when it happened. And it's not looking it up at the end of the day on a video. I was actually watching it there live.
That is so important, I got to tell you. I mean, and that's one of the reasons I really do like your product, the fact that you're virtually there. So it's and at the same point, Andrew, I got to tell you, you're kicking Ustream and YouTube right in the teeth.
I love it. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, we've definitely taken on some big enemies. I can tell you that. I'm always up for a challenge, so I don't mind.
Hey, so Andrew, before we wrap up, tell us some of the other things that you're doing, because the one thing I know about you and working with your firm is that you're more of a serial entrepreneur. So
I am.
Tell us some of the things that you can, publicly talk about that you're working on.
Sure. Yeah, so I started a company, which is what incubated Hang With, was a company called Metal Mobile. Metal is a full-service mobile agency. We've developed about 200-plus applications, some for ourselves, but mainly for big brands, Taco Bell, New York Times, Experian. So if you use their apps, we were part of the design and roadmap of what their mobile strategies were, and then in most cases developed those. So we've been in this app space since early 2008. So we've been around for quite some time and have built some amazing technology and apps for amazing clients. And we typically work with big consumer brands has been our focus, but also working with really great entrepreneurs who have looked at mobile as a way to build great businesses. And it's just every day is another fun day getting to hear new ideas and new thoughts for what's the next big thing. And so it's been a lot of fun. This whole mobile Wild West has certainly been a fun experience for me.
Hey, Andrew, I want to be respectful of your time. I think I do have two other questions. I just hope that's not a problem. Okay.
No, not at all.
If for you, for someone of your stature, new entrepreneurs that are out there and they're looking at their product or their next idea, what are some of the tips that you would give them?
Well, there's always the typical, go for your dreams and do whatever it takes. And I really do believe that. And I think that you need to make those things happen for yourselves and just to get out there and do whatever it takes and be whoever you need to be to go create something incredible. And like I said, even though I this particular project that I'm involved with now, I'm taking on some really big competitors, and I think that's what it takes to grow something real big and real exciting, and just have fun doing it and enjoy the people you're around. And the next piece of advice is just have the best team around you. Hire the greatest people you can, and those are the ones that really make it happen in your business. It's not about me. It's really about the team of people that I've been able to bring together and to help build and be excited about building something really cutting edge and cool. And that to me is what I would say to somebody is do it and bring the best people with you.
Got you. I will ask you this question. What's next? What should we expect with the next iteration of Hang With?
So we're looking at we just announced the ability for people to actually make money using the platform. So we actually share in the revenue, the advertising revenue that from any person stream. So if you decided to do broadcast on Hang With and you're using it, you can actually make some money doing it now. We believe in sharing the revenue that comes in from this type of content. Your content, you should share in the revenue because you created it. And then we're adding a couple other functions for these content creators. The first one being pay-per-view. So they'll have the ability to charge for a pay-per-view event. So if you wanted to pay for everybody that watched this event, it's going to be $2.99, and they can come share that experience. So if Timberland said, tonight I'm doing a special event with Justin Timberlake, it's going to be $7 to come watch for an hour, he's able to then do that. So these are tools for the broadcaster themselves in order for them to find ways of generating revenue from it.
That's major. That is major.
Yeah, really cool
Andrew,
stuff.
I can't thank you enough for just taking time out of your day to just come and jump on the show, and we really appreciate it. Andrew, tell us what's the best way via social media, and it's okay, listen to this question. What's the best way via social media to get in contact with you?
The best way is to download Hang With. I'm at my username is Andrew. You can come on. You can see what I'm doing with the platform. You can message me within the platform. I love talking to people. We've got lots of people I talk to on a day-to-day, and I love helping. And if there's some way that I can help create better content and help them generate additional revenue themselves, I'm there for you. So definitely come on board and follow me. Once again, my username is Andrew, and happy to connect with people.
Andrew, you deserve a round of applause. Andrew,
and that was Andrew, interview I did with Andrew Maltin a few months ago. This is before the whole Periscope and Meerkat craze that has taken over the world, where everyone is live video streaming what they're doing. Hang With was doing this eons ago, but it's all about having that hot product. So we're definitely going to have the CEO of Hang With back exclusively on Late Night Parents to talk about, some of the next phases of what's happening. But it's May, because at the beginning of the show I was talking about Cinco de Mayo. we were talking about Cinco de Mayo, but it's also National Foster Care Month, and it's all about raising awareness and to give a voice to a foster care child. You know, the boys of One Direction have graciously offered Foster More. It's the opportunity to use their song, Story of My Life, for a new PSA. So it's National Foster Care Month. We got a few other things that we want to let you also know that May is also Mental Health Awareness Month. I mean, it's a topic that we're all eager to discuss. We have author Peter Sacco. He's the radio host of Matter of the Minds, Canada's most popular mental health weekly radio show that's going to be coming on to join us. And he's also going to be talking about his book, If I Was a Bird, What Kind of Flock Would I Fly With? It's a connection between bullying, mental illness, and violence grows stronger. So a lot of good things that we're working on. Also want to give a shout-out once again to our good friends at Audible. As I mentioned before, Audible is offering our readers a free audiobook of your choice and a free 30-day trial membership. You just go to audibletrial.com/late night parents and choose over 180,000 audio programs. Download the title free and start listening. It's that easy. I mean, why not Audible? So, along with that, tonight's show, which was, the last couple of weeks, we've been doing 2-hour shows, having about 6 different interviews, and various topics. We're going to get back to that model. I think next week we're just going to have our traditional 60-minute show. 3 guests. They come in virtually. We talk it up. Whatever whether it's technology, education, sports, some type of product that needs to be reviewed, we'll be talking about it. So very quickly, I'll go into. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to go into Professor of Law and retired detective, NYPD Detective Kirk Burkhalter, came by Late Night Parents to share some law enforcement best practices. We're going to go into this right now.
And I think he just stepped in the room, so we're going to put him on live because Kirk is always early, but I see a 718 number.
That's me, Ted,
excited. Yes. I'm getting excited. It's my brother. Kirk, man, what's going on? So just for everyone to hear, this is Kirk Burkhalter, Professor Kirk Burkhalter, retired detective Kirk Burkhalter, but someone I could say is a friend of mine, and I just want to say thank you for coming on the show, and Kirk, just really in advance, thanking you for, giving us an insight tonight to the topic at hand that we spoke about in depth in front of the law school a few weeks ago. So, Kirk, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, Ted, it is absolutely my pleasure. Like you said, it's always a pleasure to speak with you, and I'm absolutely delighted to be on your show. And I'm glad we can memorialize some of the great conversations you and I have had over the years.
Too many conversations, Kurt.
Exactly.
Oh, man. So, listen, you and I, we're straight shooters. We've been straight shooters for, I would say, like the last 7 years since we've known each other. And we said, we call right is, we say what is right and what's wrong is wrong. But we were standing outside and we were talking about the situation that happened in Ferguson. And it kind of led me to start thinking about what happened in Staten Island and what's happening across America. Kind of, it's so a one-sided story, or you don't want to say shoot first and ask questions later, but Kurt, what are your thoughts on, some of the happenings that within the last 60 to 90 days dealing with law enforcement?
Well, it's a difficult topic, and it's never ever just cut and dry or black and white. Forgive the pun, of course, and certainly where I teach law students, so I certainly believe in the process. And whenever we talk about criminal law and someone that's formally charged with a crime, I do have a belief in the process. Now, that's a whole other discussion, needless to say, whether or not that's always applied adequately. But that being said, I do believe there's a starting point to this conversation, and it's something that a lot of people don't want to hear, and perhaps, but it is what it is, and to be blunt, African Americans are the ones who are killed by accident, and
right.
There's always a reason, and somebody was reaching for something, and I don't know what's going on with black folks that they're always reaching for something, but yeah, we always reach, but I make light of it, and I don't mean to, but the bottom line, and that's for me, that's the starting point. There's we can sometimes we look into these things, we can kind of justify it, but it still doesn't change the fact that when you turn on the news, if someone was killed by accident, or should I say unintentionally, by the police, 9 out of 10 times, or like I always say, arguably 10 out of 10 times, it's going to be an African-American male. Right. And I think the gentleman in Staten Island is somewhat of an exception, because it's usually an African-American male that's, somewhere between the ages of 15 and, 28, 30 years old.
Right.
So that's the starting point, and for me. And, I have, like I always say, I have a lot of friends who are still active law enforcement. I have a ton of friends that are retired, and I do think certainly it's a difficult job, and it's a thankless job, and so forth. But you have a responsibility.
Kirk, I have to jump in and say,
sure.
You would know best. You would know best.
Well,
you would know best.
I think I know, but trust me when I say I don't know it all. I don't know it all. My father is a retired cop. He was a sergeant, and certainly he provided a lot of mentorship in my career. And when I first joined the police department, I believe it was the day before I entered the police academy. He had some stern words for me. He said, "Hey, you've been a certain person and you've thought a certain way all your life, and that shouldn't change. It really shouldn't change. How you feel about people, how you treat people, and so forth." And that did stick with me. So I do think, and it's somewhat of a radical idea, it's a problem with society. To be quite honest, the police officers are not special people. You don't go to the police officer farm and pick them, and these are special people. They're a reflection of society, and they're a reflection of all the fears and hang-ups and all the other things that we have going on in society. It sounds kind of grim, but I think we can make progress, but I don't think we're really going to change things until society changes its views and comes to terms with some of its fears, to be quite honest.
I mean, you're not painting a picture that's total doom and gloom. You're telling us what's really happening out there, because, I'm at a point where, my son is only 7.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point in time, we tell him now, we teach him now on how to conduct himself when he's not around us, when he's in the public. But as he gets a little bit older, there's going to come a point in time when another conversation needs to take place. When he starts driving, or when he hits the point where he's an adult.
Well, I would dare to say, as an African American parent, you're almost being irresponsible if you don't have that conversation with him.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because Kirk, I'm sitting here, and because I know, like my father before me pulled me to the side and said, "Okay, so here's a few things that are going to happen." And he wasn't in law enforcement. He was a transit a motorman for the transit authority, and he said, "Here's how it is out in life. Out in life, here's what you're going to have to deal with." And he told the truth. But it's like from you, I want to hear from you, because you have a son that's of age, and, college grad, and, I know you're very proud of him, but, with being out in the real world and driving behind driving an automobile, and, you giving him nuggets on, not to drink and drive, and using his best judgment. But so what happens when someone that's African American or Latino or a white American is pulled over by an officer or state trooper? Like, what are some of the best practices? Like, what should that person be looking for?
Well, I think it's all about your safety, meaning the civilian safety. And also keep in mind, and in all fairness, some of it is about the police officer's safety. Now, whether his or her fears are well-founded or not well-founded, that really doesn't matter if both of you are on the street at that time. That's a discussion for another day once the two of you are out of that situation. But you have to remember also that police officers do want to protect themselves. They see more violence and so forth than the average person. So they do want to protect themselves. But you also want to protect yourself. And given the statistics and so forth, and my son is 25 now, and thank God he's a great guy, he's a great person. But he never got involved in things. I tell him the same thing. So it's about your safety. So first and foremost, you have to comply. You have to follow instructions. You're never ever going to talk your way out of anything, and that's just a fact. It's a reality that you have to accept. Generally speaking, you have to comply with instructions. If a police officer asks you for some identification or pull the car over, you kind of engaging in a verbal confrontation is never going to help the situation. No police officer is going to back down because you started yelling at him or her. So that's the first thing. You want to comply. You want to be civil. You want to just be civil, right? They're asking for your identification, whatever the case, provide it to them. I always recommend, if you're pulled over, especially if it's at night, turn on the interior lights of your car and keep your hands on the steering wheel. So this way, God forbid, you're not reaching for anything. But, that's helpful. It helps to put that person at ease.
Right.
So those are two very important things. And like I said, remember that it's about your safety. Finally, not finally, but, one of the more important things and something to remember, if for whatever reason the police officer feels that you need to be arrested, you need to be handcuffed and taken to the station, you have to go. You have to comply. You're not going to talk your way out of that. You're not going to fight your way out of that. And as a matter of fact, the more resistance you give, the more likelihood that there'll be some type of physical altercation. And that's why we have a legal system. That's why I teach law students, because once you get to wherever you're going, you have the right to an attorney. You can contact an attorney. We do have a constitution. We have certain, there are certain protections for folks. It's an uncomfortable situation to be handcuffed and taken to the precinct, but if that's going to happen, you have to realize that there's nothing you can do at that point to get out of that situation. So you have to stay cool, and once you get there, you're able to make a phone call, and you call an attorney. And I don't care, what the situation is, other than some basic information, your name and your address and so forth, you don't have to talk until you consult with an attorney. And I recommend that you don't, because 9 out of 10 times, you're probably just kind of talking yourself into more trouble. So, if the police have probable cause to arrest you, they have probable cause. The wheels of justice have started. So at that point, you should always consult with an attorney. Informing, and these are not my words. I wish I could credit the party where I heard it, but you don't explain your rights. You demonstrate that you know your rights. So you never have to tell the police, I have the right to this, I have the right to that. You demonstrate that you know your rights by doing certain things. For instance, like I always say, may I search your trunk? No, you may not. If someone asks, if the police come to your house and ask you, may I search your house? Well, clearly, if they had a search warrant or they had probable cause, or one of the exceptions with probable cause to search your home or your car, they wouldn't ask you. So, I'd like to talk to my lawyer first. I'd like to know why you want to search this, but no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But the key is really remaining cool and it takes two parties for an argument, or most times it takes two parties to escalate a situation. So no matter how out of control things seem to get, if you comply and you remain cool, there is a good chance that things can be worked out. Because really, Ted, what we're talking about is surviving a confrontation without incurring any type of injury, without making the day worse, you know?
I mean, you're already in a situation. The last thing you want to do is make it worse.
Absolutely.
You know, it's you know what? It's so sad, Kirk, because, you know, we sit back and, you know, in our passings, and, you know, we'll talk about whatever the latest situation is or whatever happened, and, you know, overall, we'll sit there and say it didn't have to happen that way, or, you know, it's always the aftermath of the specific situation. But cooler heads do prevail.
They do prevail. They do prevail, and I hope anyone who's listening by no means takes what I say to mean that it's ever the victim's fault if something unfolds and the victim is hurt, or these folks that who suffer injuries or death at the hands of police brutality. It's not their fault. You know, the police have a responsibility to act professionally. Period. And you know, it's the job of the police officer to deliver the person to the court. Right? The police officer is not the judge and jury, so it's their responsibility to act professionally. So it's never the victim's fault. However, with everything in life, we can always learn, and we can learn. You know, we've all done things, and we've all said, the next time that happens, how can I do it better? You know, how can I protect myself better? And the key is to protect yourself. You know, I always tell folks when I do these talks, you don't want your kid's picture on a T-shirt. You don't want a case named after your kid. You don't want your kid to be the test bubble for one of these incidents. You know, and that's the reality. You want your kid to come home. You know, and that's at the end of the day, that's all you want. And for adults too, we want to go home. You want to go home and survive these things. So it's really important. But one other thing, folks need to speak up. They need to speak up. You know, I always tell my students, you know, you go into McDonald's and you order a large portion of French fries. If they only filled it up half the way, my goodness, you'd be ready to tear the McDonald's down. You want to see the manager. You want to complain. You know, yet here someone tramples on your constitutional rights, and you don't even at least make a civilian complaint or write your congressman or go investigate or go get a lawyer. So, you know, you have to really think about that. We complain about a lot worse, and maybe if we complain about things that really affect us and the community and our kids and so forth, then perhaps that's another way that we can affect change, you know?
Kirk, before we wrap up, I want to just real briefly tell us about those talks that you give. Tell us about it. You made a reference to it.
Sure. So I really enjoy that. I've done a few. I go to different, civic organizations or whoever is interested, and I've been tapped to do it. And it's usually the audience, usually parents and African American parents and their kids, and the kids usually tend to be teenagers, right? High school kids and middle school kids. And the talk is about just this: what to do when you're stopped by the police, how to be safe. And a big piece of that also is letting them understand what the police are trying to do. So, yes, there actually are times where you do fit the description. Everyone thinks that's a lie. But, yeah, there are times you don't always have the information that they have. And it's just a matter of keeping a cool head, and this way, you know, things can be sorted out. But I enjoy doing those talks because there are a lot of misconceptions out there. I had a parent once say to me, well, I just tell my son to run because if the police catch him, they're going to beat him up even if he did nothing. Exactly. That was my reaction. So there's just so much misinformation out there, and I think it's very helpful. And who knows, you know, if we can kind of save one kid or just a couple from a really uncomfortable confrontation, I think is helpful. And, you know, to be quite honest, hopefully some of these kids, you know, if that interaction is positive as opposed to negative, maybe some of these kids will grow up to be the chief of police or the police commissioner. You know, I mean, we need more representation that's reflective of our communities, and so
right.
I like to see more positive interactions, if when possible, with the police. So I really enjoy doing the talks, and hey, for anyone listening out there or anybody that you might know, Ted, I'm always interested in doing that, and I can certainly bring along
definitely.
some really sharp law students also that will
that
would love to participate.
That's a nice plug. That's a nice plug there, Kirk.
There you go. There you go.
But listen, I want to thank you so much. If someone, this conversation continues because we're going to probably take this part of the show, carve it up, put it on the website. If they wanted to get in contact with you, what is the best way if someone said, hey, I do want to reach out to Professor Burkhalter? What's the best way?
They could always shoot me an email at the law school. It's kirk.burkhalter@nyls.edu. So that's KIRK.BURKHALTER @nyls.edu. You could also go to the school's website and just look me up under the faculty listings, and my email address will be right there. But any of your listeners are always happy to shoot me an email, and I promise to respond promptly, and would be more than happy to hook up with anyone.
As always, Kirk. I mean, like I said, we go back.
Absolutely.
Let's put it this way. We go back, and I can't thank you enough. I would just thanks for just taking the time out of your evening, and I'm definitely going to follow up with you. All right.
Well, Ted, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. Like I said, always a pleasure. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and
all right.
Kirk, this is just for you.
Thank you.
And that was Professor Kirk Burkhalter coming through and explaining I think initially when we aired this interview is the do's and don'ts in dealing with law enforcement. It's so much more prevalent now as we've noticed these situations continue to happen where, I will be the first one to say law enforcement is a very, very tough job. And it's I hate to say this, it's a thankless job. I remember back in 1994, I was prepping to attend the police academy. And I know, I'm thinking 1994, that was like 21 years ago. I was prepping to go. And I opted out of attending the police academy. And that was primarily due to speaking with my parents. And my mom was kind of, nervous about me joining the police department where, it was a pretty tight time back there in the mid-'90s. So I opted not to, and I have no regrets in life. I'm happy with the decisions I have made, and I was talking with a few people at work today. We were talking about, regrets, or we were talking about things that have happened in each of our pasts, and I am not. I'm more than happy every day as IT manager, loving life, troubleshooting problems, research and development, and it also gives me the ability, or it gave me the ability to take on this part of the, I guess my new track of, dad blogger and having a weekly radio show that's simulcast and distributed and shared all over the place. So I'm very happy about that. I think I had just two quick things. One was Sammy the Magic Bear says no to bullying. Critics say this game-changing children's book is a wonderful, heartwarming, and perfect. It's Sammy the Bear, No to Bullying, by Muriel Beardon. And it started life as a compelling idea of tackling the current global bullying epidemic After seeing huge success and being translated into 9 different languages, critics are now coming out in force to support this lovable bear's pertinent message. Available Amazon, Audible, and every other format. It's available. Last week on last week's show, I think it was last week's episode. It was a 2-hour show, but the first guest of the first hour was Tiffany Capone, and she's a Baltimore mom, and we were talking about the things that were happening in B-more with all the issues and the curfews and Freddie Gray and the rioting and everything else like that. But I also have another great book that you can also find. It's called In the Line of Fire: Raising Kids in a Violent World. Just want to read this really quick, and then we'll get to our, the close of our 1-hour show, and then we'll also have an additional interview right after. But what can we do to provide a safer, saner world for our kids? Our children are growing up in a violent world filled with bullying, school shootings, hate crimes, bloody TV shows and video games, and domestic violence. In the Line of Fire, Raising Kids in a Violent World includes sobering statistics, anecdotes, and stories that paint a clear picture of the violent world in which we now live. Every day in the United States, 4 children are killed by abuse or neglect. 7 children or teenagers are killed by firearms. 187 children are arrested for violent crimes. 1,837 children are identified as abused or neglected. And 2,857 high school students drop out. But beyond portraying the violence, this eye-opening and well-researched book offers more than 400 common-sense solutions and action steps to stop it, including strategies for law enforcement, school administrators, counselors, psychologists, churches, parents, and others. For every person who's imagined living in a peaceful world, from hatred, bigotry, bullying, violence, and all other dysfunctional ills that ruins communities and nations. In the Line of Fire, Raising Kids in a Violent World is an essential and meaningful guide. So we got to give a shout-out to Miss Jan Arnone, who's also the founder and executive director of Innovations in Peacemaking International, and is an internationally recognized lecturer and authority on multicultural education. We're excited to get Miss Arnone on the show. It was resonant in Kirk's interview, Professor Burkhalter. You got to start to teach your child young. You really do. It's really, really important. We can laugh and joke about a lot of things, but it's so serious nowadays. So, like I said, I don't mean to be doom and gloom, but this is kind of where we are, nowadays. So I guess we'll be back next week for our nice and cheery and happy version of Late Night Parents. But sometimes you need to hear the real. It's like I said, folks, it's helpful. It really is. It's really helpful to hear what's really going on in the world. So for some of our folks that are dropping off at the 1-hour mark, we want to say thank you. But for some of our folks that are going to hear the extended version of the show, we have Miss Holly Carney from Wicked Not with a very detailed interview that we're going to discuss right now. So this is the last time you're going to hear my voice. We'll be back next week, next Wednesday. But you can catch me on Wednesday on the Happy Hour Network, Baseball, Beer, and Barbecue. As always, the home of Late Night Parents. Like I said, as always, really excited to be a part of this great network. Really happy. Before we get into the last interview, I want to give a shout out to the good people at Bowflex. The Max Trainer has arrived, and I'm starting to burn away some of these calories. And I will be, I don't know, I'm going to stay at it because guess what? I canceled my gym membership. I wasn't going there. I noticed it being a waste. And I said, okay, let me go with the Max Trainer. We're going to take it. We put it together the other night. It took about I would say I was watching TV also, so it took about 90 minutes to put the thing together. And we'll take it from there. So Holly Carney is up next. Thank you, folks.
Holly Carney, tell us about how we got to Wicked Knot.
Okay. Well, first I want to give credit to that morning show. They're a really neat team. And my husband's best friend, Steve Weatherford, has been on that show with them, I think, for a couple of years now. And he was helping to host, I think, the sports program. And he knew that my son and I were really working hard to launch Wicked Knot. And we had started in November when my husband, John Carney, was inducted into the New Orleans Saints Hall of Fame. We kind of did a soft launch out in New Orleans because we know all the media, and we have tons of friends there, beloved friends, after living there for a decade, really. And so Steve Weatherford said, I'm hosting the show the week before Christmas. You guys have to come out. And I'm like, the week before Christmas? It's that's crazy because we knew there was a storm front coming in, and we were advised all travelers would be stuck on Christmas Eve. So Steve insisted we come in, and we flew in on the 22nd and flew back out the 23rd. So you did see me at 5 in the morning. I think Luke and I had 2 hours sleep.
Wow.
And there we were to share our story. We feel it's an important story. It's imperative to get it out there, and it is about stepmothers and their relationship with their children. And this Wicked Knot is the first of a series of books that I've written. And to be honest with you, Ted, I started this project 7 years ago, and it's finally at the point of takeoff. And it's out there now, and we're really excited about it. So I really appreciate you reaching out to Juliet and getting a hold of us so we can continue to get the message out there. It's a hot topic. It's an emotional topic. And over the years, as I've shared with different people, I don't think I've been clear, but it's a children's series. It's a children's book. It's a whimsical children's book. The first one is from the stepmother's perspective. And it's a twist because you never really hear from the stepmother. She does not have a voice. For centuries, she's never had a voice. And so, anyways, thank you for pursuing this conversation further and having me on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Oh, as I've said before, it's my pleasure. And first and foremost, we talk tech, we talk education. Several weeks we've talked Common Core. We've talked with next week we have the wonderful Kristen Parmalee, who's going to be on here. Her son has dyslexia, and guess what? She did something about it. And so her team put together a mobile app to help children with dyslexia. So we have so many different stories and folks that we reach out to every week. And it just moved me when I saw your appearance on it because it is a touchy topic. It is something where you're kind of like, oh, well, it's so many folks are caught up on the conventional families. But what about the blended families? What about the stepmoms and the stepdads that are out there? And it's wonderful that it's a children's tale because when things like that happen, when families, let's just say whether there's a divorce happens and a parent remarries, who's the person that's most affected? It's the child. It's the child that's affected, and so we need to hear that other children need to be able to understand, and the fact that you wrote a book and it's going to be a series is really key. And I got to tell you, because me, for one, at the age of 2, my biological mom passed away,
and my dad got remarried. So it was a situation where I'm kind of like going along with it, and at the time, my older sister, she wasn't. So it was a situation where, I was young enough that I was able to adjust to my stepmom.
How old was
older
sister? Just the two of you?
Right, it was just the two of us.
And how old was she in the marriage?
It was 1974. My sister is 6 years older.
Oh,
so
dear, right.
Yeah, so it was around. I was around 6, and my sister was almost 12 at the time, because we're about 5.5 years apart. Which, ironically, Holly, my son and my daughter are 5.5 years apart, just like my sister and I.
Oh, wow, right.
So
that's awesome.
I kind of know, I can walk in those footsteps to see, some of the things that happened, some of the things that, impacted our lives. So the fact of the matter is that you're stepping out to do this. It's beautiful, number one, and it's needed. It's needed.
Well, thank you. Just speaking about that, the first book, Wicked Not, is from my perspective. The second one, Wicked Never, is from Luke's perspective, addressing the issues. You had a different issue. Your stepmother was stepping into a role that wasn't going to be challenged as your mother passed away. And it's a little different scenario, but at the same time, the children's perspective isn't different. And so the second book addresses the issue of every time Luke was in one household, he was going to miss out on things in the other household. And these are situations that the adult needs to be sensitive about. The child isn't asked to live in two different homes. You had a different situation, obviously. But every time I share about this series, and the third book is about my not-so-wicked stepmother's having my baby brother, and then so on and so forth, as you can see. But the first one, the first children's book, it's really a coffee table book for the stepmother. And I want to share with you, here your stepmother fell in love with your daddy, and she fell in love with the man of her dreams. And in order to be with the man that she loved, she accepted, I'm speaking for her, I don't know the reality of her situation, you and your sister, she accepted his children as her own. Now, the challenge is society doesn't want to affirm her in that or give her that credit. The children are like, whoa, you're not my mom. But at the same time, the stepmother is like, but I am. I want to love you as my own. Not like my own, but as my own. And so there's so many battles and hurdles, whether the bio mom has passed away or still living. I've heard story after story after story. Someone wrote me, my biological father had an affair. So I want to hate that woman. So there's so many issues as to how the blended family was formed. And, one of the healthiest perspectives that we can take as parents is that it's adult situations are not the children's. They're not the children's problems. They're not the children's baggage. The children don't have to carry the adult issues on their shoulders. The healthiest thing we can do for our children is to love them where they're at and say, well, this is our family now, regardless how it was formed, not being insensitive to a death, as I said before, but just this is our home now, and in that home, the stepmother should want a healthy environment, not a toxic environment. So whenever you're loving that child, to show the child my first book, it really helps explain to a child, here I was, a little girl, growing up dreaming of love, and the one thing I knew I would never be, one of my pages says, there was always a problem, something always amiss. Life was no fairy tales full of childhood bliss. I could relate to the first part of stories of old, poison apples, rejection, and spells of a toad. And it goes on, Cinderella and Snow White stirred up my imagination. I would never be a stepmother who caused agitation. Stepmothers were jealous, cruel, cold, and mean. I wept when I thought of how heartless they seem. So all of us grow up, honestly, Ted, and who dreams of growing up and becoming a stepmother? And to read this to your child, I don't care if your child is a teenager or 24 or 27 or 35 and you've already botched the relationship, this book can be a catalyst to healing and love. And the child, the stepchild, regardless of the age, can say, wow, yeah, you don't dream of growing up and being a stepmother. You don't dream of growing up and having infertility problems and becoming an adoptive mom. Or you don't dream of, I was a foster mother. My brother passed away and left me his daughter. And there are many challenges there. But my focus was to keep the children healthy, keep this child healthy. And bringing my niece into the family, we all know when you bring a wounded bird into the nest, you can wound the other birds. So yes. as a mother, a biological mother, a stepmother, and a foster mother, soon to be adoptive mother, we adopted her and went through that process, I've experienced all society's attitudes towards every one of those roles that I played. When I became a stepmother, I experienced, are you mean? How'd that come about? The judgment, instant judgment, or shunning, or teachers not validating me as a mom and only wanting to talk to my husband instead, or whatever it was. When I became a biological mother, I was like the blessed mother. Oh, you're a mom, totally different attitude. When I became a foster mother to my niece and in the process of adopting her, everyone was affirming me. Oh, you're amazing. You're taking on this child. And I'm like, wait a second. Because I'm the auntie and not the stepmother, all of a sudden I'm getting gifts and cards and validation, and it's honorable. So over the years, the last 20 years, I've experienced how society looks at all these different roles. And it became, I'm a former junior high school teacher. I'm a child advocate. I love kids. And it became a desire of mine to change the world's viewpoint of stepmothers being wicked. All the time. My husband's former teammate was over, and he had 4 children in his first marriage and was divorced and had a new wife who had never had any children. And so there she has all his older 4 kids. And the young 18-year-old was having dinner with us, and he started laughing when he heard about my book. And he goes, that's awesome. He goes, 95% of the questions people ask me about my stepmom is she mean? Is she mean? And I thought that's really funny because when your auntie's taking care of a child, no one says, oh, is she mean? When grandmama is taking care of a child or adopted, no one says, is she mean? So really the first book, Wicked Not All Stepmothers Are Wicked, is a whimsical children's story depicting the stepmother as a little girl and her dreams and visions and then falling in love with this man and he had a little child. What's she going to do? What's she going to do? So and she overcomes a lot of things with the child, as you heard on the morning show. But many stepmothers that have read my book just start crying. Parents who, everyone, regardless if they're married, divorced, never married, separated, everyone knows someone with a blended family. Half of all our marriages end in divorce. 29 million of our Americans today are step-parents. And 2,100 blended families are formed a day. 1 million children will experience divorce a year. It's time to start focusing on these kids. They didn't ask for it, love them, and not dump our adult perspectives and garbage on them. Anyway, do you have a question?
So true.
I could go on and on and on.
No, and that's great, and that's the beautiful thing about it. And what we try to do here at Late Night Parents is give folks like yourself that forum, so that not just tonight, if there's any specific week, you want to come on and you want to talk about whatever, or you want to talk about the within the series, the next chapter in your, with your books, you're welcome to come on here and talk about this because it's all about families. It's all about families and building families, and like you said, the conventional family, the son and the daughter with the mom and the dad and the white picket fence. That's not the norm. Like to say it's the norm.
Not. And I felt like whenever I met my husband, and he was a single father, and had never married my son's mom. And Luke was 3, so see, I had an advantage as well. He was so little, he,
right.
didn't know what was going on. And I felt like over the years, as my brother was dying, he actually didn't die of cancer complications, but the chemo and radiation had scarred his lungs, so it was like an emphysema almost, but it was cancer-related issues. As it took him 9 years before he went to the Lord, and I felt like, had I not had a blended family to begin with, I may not have eased into or been all arms open and ready to receive his daughter.
Right.
I could have been like, oh, I have, 2 perfect children and a beautiful, perfect marriage, and I can't have another child that's not my own. I just felt like God laid the groundwork that I always had an extra child in my house. I'm a godmother to many children. We're very faith-based. Steve Weatherford, he has 3 children and a 4th on the way, and my husband and I are godparents to all 3 of his children.
Yes.
And I just felt like I was so blessed that Luke was in my life. He has transformed me and shaped me as a mother, as an individual, as a woman, as a wife. I would not be who I am today, nor my husband, if Luke were not in our lives. And I just love him so much, and we're very, very, very close. And I've never, ever, ever considered him my stepchild. I just wanted to embrace him as my own, and I was criticized and judged for that. And but in the end, ultimately, it was his foundation, and it gave him self-esteem and confidence. He knew he was beloved by everyone in our home, and that's why he is a part owner in this project and 100% on board, because he wants a voice too. He wants to tell the world it's okay to love your stepmother. It's okay, just an extra person to love, like an auntie or a grandmother.
So Holly, I got to ask you this question. I mean, and it's more a rhetorical question. So at what point? So the rhetorical question of the moment is: so at what point, when you fell in love, you guys were married, and you fell in love with your husband, and that's his son. That becomes your son.
Yes.
I mean, it's, to me, it's as easy as can be. But I don't know, and I'm not sure about the fact that where's the divide? Because
I'll tell you. It's adults sharing their issues with the kids. It's completely inappropriate. So I fell in love. We fell in love. We all got married, and he was happy as can be. And then poison would seep into the well when he would bring home information from other sources that would be angry or condemning or hostile, that this household does it this way, or this household, but it was always the stepmom gets blamed for everything, or it's poison from adults that give their opinions to the children instead of allowing them to love everyone, and so then they're conflicted, and then that's in the second book, and their sense of, oh my gosh. One of the lines in my second book is, as I looked into my face, Luke wonders aloud. It's from his perspective. Is it wrong to love her too? Will she take my mom's place? But the reality is, I'm the mommy of this house. I'm his little brother's mommy. Right. I'm his little sister's mommy. I'm mommy. And the healthiest thing to do is you line them all up and brush their teeth, and you line them all up and lecture them, and you line them all up and you feed them. You treat them all the same. If you walked into my house, in fact, during this project, since we launched this project, so many people have said to me, you're not a stepmother. If you walked into my house, you would never know I had a stepchild. If I have gigantic pictures of one, I have gigantic pictures of the other. It's you love them all the same. You have to. That's healthy. That's good. That's what kind of household we want. But so as the years progressed, my conflicts and trials and frustrations came not from within my family unit, but from outside influences that misjudged, or criticized, or Luke for loving this family unit.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
And so I imagine your story must be a little bit different because unless your stepmother was competing against, per se, I have a friend who is a stepmother to a widower, or to his daughter, and I think she always felt she was battling the perfect mother who had passed away. Did your stepmother have that experience?
I would say she had that experience with my older sister. Yes.
Yeah, girl.
I would say, and it was just always some type of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
But
here's the deal. It's natural to have conflict with your children. I have a little girl. She's almost 15. She'll be 15, Kiki, January 31st at the end of this month. And there's conflict being a mom or dad regardless.
Right.
And so with the wicked image, we're told we're beautiful our whole lives, right? Oh, you're so beautiful, you're so beautiful, you're so this, you're so that. You get married, you inherit a title that basically equates ugly. And if stepmama gets angry with stepdaughter, stepson, it's not a righteous anger as a typical mom would feel. It's, oh, I'm the wicked stepmother. I'm not allowed to be angry. But yes, we are. Moms get angry. Dads get angry. We have to discipline. If we love our children, we will discipline them. We will give them guidelines. But it has to be after when my husband and I get angry with any of our children. We sit down, we talk. This is what went wrong. This is what you did. This is what's not appropriate, and we love you. And so. Right. You always have to conclude your whatever little teeny tiny trials. But girls are hard. They go through their little stage, and boys are hard when they're little, and it flips. Their energy and their naughtiness, and they grow out of that and turn these calm people. And then girls are so sweet when they're little, and it flips. But so yes, she battled. I'm sure your stepmother battled some issues with your sister. However, if she were the biological mom, the same thing would have happened.
Yes, because at the same time, Holly, I don't mean to hold you too long. I know we agreed on a specific time frame, but I got to tell you, with my 13-year-old daughter and my wife now, and I'm starting to see some of the battles.
I think they're called pheromones. It's a pheromone. I think it's something like that. But what do? We keep on loving. We keep on pushing through. We don't give up. They're our daughters. So, right, you're going to see it. And my husband said, it was like my daughter's kind of grown out of it. It was kind of 7th and 8th grade. My husband said one day, I don't know what's going on with the two of you. And I said, no. There's no two of us. I'm the mama. She's the daughter. She needs to obey first, and we'll discuss it later. There's no.
That is true.
Right, and he laughed because he got me. No. I'm not her age. There's no two of what's going on with the two of us. So with my first book, Wicked Not All Stepmothers Are Wicked, 35,000 distributors have it available online, and I have my own website, wickednot.com, where you can order it from there too, or my publishing company, Friesen Press, out of Canada. But came up with a new archetype, the Apple Mom. The Apple Mom, anyone could be an Apple Mom, and we need to strive to be an Apple Mom. And I have a bracelet on my website that says Apple Mom. The mom in my book is an Apple Mom, one who is loving and nurturing. And it's a true story what happened to me. It actually did not happen with Luke, which is the irony of the book. It happened with my daughter, Kiki. She was like 5 years old, and someone had asked her if she would like an apple, and she said yes, and the person asked if she wanted it peeled. And I think Kiki was confused, like, what? And she said, does your mommy peel your apples for you? And Kiki's like, no. And this person said, your mommy doesn't peel your apples for you? And I was thinking, gee whiz. I just, an unjustified flurry, So I pulled Kiki aside later, and I said, honey, mommy doesn't peel your apples for you because that's the good part. It's nourishing and healthy. And so I kind of implemented that into my story with Luke. He thought that he got sick in my book because of the unpeeled apple. Why can't you peel my apple like all the other mothers? And so
really?
The new archetype that I want to propel across the nation of the United States is, are you an Apple Mom? Did you read the book? Wicked Not All Stepmothers Are Wicked.
Gotcha.
It changed the archetype from wicked stepmother to an apple mom, and anyone can be an apple mom. So this book can be for a biological mom who's having trouble with their kids, or a foster mom, adopted mom, stepmom. If there are good stepmothers, there are bad stepmothers. There are good bio moms, there are bad bio moms. There are also stepmothers that change lives forever for the good when there is a bad bio mom. And so we need to embrace the opportunity of all mothers, regardless of bloodlines, to be an apple mom. And that's kind of the message, and love and healing. Now, I want to share this with you. I don't know if you know, we produced a song, and we're going to produce a song to go with every book. And my musician, Tim Foley, has been a good friend and partner in the ministry that I've involved in San Diego for over 10 years, youth ministry. We do a lot of youth stuff. And he was in a band called Skelpin. They did world music, Irish music. He plays 9 different instruments. So he sings my song, Wicked I'm Not. And in it says, this would be a good gift for your stepmother, Ted. It says, it's him singing, because someone said, why isn't the woman singing? Well, not all bio moms want another woman singing to their son. There's a lot of jealousy issues there, or their child. So I have Tim singing as a buffer, the man giving permission. You know, she's saying, I want to love you. I wasn't the first, but I'll love till it hurts. I just want to have a family with you, because wicked I'm not. And so a song goes with this book, too. So anyone that orders Wicked Not from my website, I send them a complimentary CD sung by Tim Foley and his band members. Yeah, so a lot of good stuff there.
A lot of good stuff.
Now you know what to get your stepmom for Mother's Day.
Yeah. So before you go, I want you to and you mentioned it during this interview, but I want you to mention, number one, your Twitter handle, or your social, best ways to get in contact you via social media, and how do we get the book?
Okay. My Twitter handle, it's like pulling the curtain back and seeing the wizard there. My dear friend Dawn Suchecki is my social media director, and she's the one that does all those tweets. And so I'm embarrassed to say I don't know my Twitter handle. I think it's wicked.not. Oh,
yes,
is it Wicked Not, or is it Wicked.not? Wicked _not or Wicked Not?
Wicked Not.
Well, praise God, you knew. Okay, I'm like, I felt like Toto just pulled the curtain back. Oh, it's not me.
Oh, no, no.
I follow it and I watch it, and we share everything that goes up on there. And so Dawn Suchecki, a dear friend, and she's a stepmother, too, of 3. All right, so Wicked Not is the Twitter handle.
And that was Holly Carney, author of Wicked Not. So, pretty great show tonight. 90 minutes. REVERB. Andrew Maltin, CEO of Hang With live video streaming app. Professor Kirk Burkhalter, retired NYPD detective and professor of law, shared some in law enforcement best practices. And as I mentioned already, Holly Carney stole the show with Wicked Not, and just life as a stepmom and the trials and tribulations she had to go through. So pretty solid show. 3 guests that we had previously on Late Night Parent that I just wanted to throw together on the show called REVERB. Like I said, appreciate all that everyone does with listening, tweeting back to me, sending encouraging text messages, all the above. Just on the Late Night Parent site this week, question is, have you been affected by a browser hacking virus? A browser hacking virus is broadly defined as any code that changes or affects the settings on your Internet browser. These viruses can result in changes to your homepage, proxy setting changes, pop-ups, site redirections. Even when the source virus has been removed from your browser settings, those specific settings can remain changed. So on Late Night Parents, we have some steps for you, some common browser hijackers, basically the top 7 or so that are out there. Some tips. What can I do? Never download toolbars or updates from any organization you never heard of. Always read through any checkboxes in any application you install. Often they come pre-checked and will install unwanted adware alongside the desired application. Be wary of all services offered through pop-up ads. Whenever possible, read through the terms and agreements before you finalize the installation of any software. And the last and most important tip is don't download media files, movies, music, pictures, etc., from unknown, shady-looking websites. Viruses can use anything as a way to sneak into your computer. So if you're doing banking and you have your personally identifiable information on your computer, and you wanted the latest Rihanna song or Rihanna album, and you didn't go to iTunes or any of the music streaming services that are out there, you got to be smart about this because, you're basically exposing yourself. So let's all take a second, do the right thing. Once again, tonight's show was sponsored by Audible.com, which has more than 180,000 audiobooks and spoken word audio products. So if you're interested in getting a free audiobook of your choice, please go to audiotrial.com/late night parents. We're there. We're an affiliated partner of audiblebooks.com and audible.com. Really excited about some of the guests we have coming up in next upcoming weeks. Excited and hope to keep you engaged. We're going to have to tackle that Common Core because we're almost, before you know it, it's going to be the month of June. And we'll be coming to a 1-year close of the Common Core. And, we're going to get some experts in here. Various authors we have lined up. It's going to be a full house. So once again, we want to thank our guests that we had on tonight, and we're going to close out with Who Got Game. Thanks again, folks.
Yeah, that's right. This cut goes out to all y'all that's been missing us for mad years. One love, yo. Yeah, that's right. He's got game. PE 1998.
If man is the father, the sun is the center of the earth, in the middle of the universe, then why is this verse coming 6 times rehearsed?